Well, in the first place, I think we can heave a sigh of relief because everybody wanted to avoid the conflagration of this conflict, and not from now, but forever. Iran's tentacles in the region, which used to give it an asymmetric advantage, were significantly reduced. I'm told, and this would, of course, over time come out, that Iran was given sufficient notice. So they removed all the material, and they all, in any case, expected that. So by the time the US aircrafts came and bombed the biggest bomb in the world, IAEA's report was saying not much nuclear radiation. That means the Iranian had taken good care of their facilities. And the Qatar just played once again, which is a non-NATO ally, a very important role. And then President Trump declared this ceasefire. So there is no perceptional or strategic change either in the mindset of Netanyahu or Khamenei. Both, as long as both are in the leadership positions in the country, the rivalry between the two is unlikely to recede. But President Trump's efforts would now be to somehow have this nuclear deal going after this ceasefire. If you see his statements, he has praised both the leaders to stand up to. So until and unless Israel also thinks in a bit more constructive manner how to proceed with the issue of Palestine, which they
That
do
is
every
okay,
time
but
with every
the
superpower.
meeting of Munir with Trump has evoked a certain kind of curiosity that there has been something has been, it had to do something with the Iran-Israel thing. Is it so?
You know, if last time when there was a war by the Americans and the West against Houthis few months back, they did not back down. And they were supported definitely by Iran. I mean, they are in a way proxy of Iran. So they continued to fight and hit the American ships and everything and made them really difficult. In the end, the Americans got peace with them.
Hi, I am Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. In this episode, we will discuss President Trump's announcement of ceasefire in Israel-Iran conflict. I have with me retired Ambassador Shri Anil Trigunayat. He appeared here a couple of times, and he is an expert on Middle East. Sir, straight to question. President Trump announced end of the 12-day war, and he blessed everyone. Minutes later, Israel raided Iran, and Tehran said no agreement. And, I can just read out a couple of stories that are coming up on search at this moment. See, it looks funny, but that's it. Israel, there is a attack, unidentified attack in Iraq, drone attack, and that's it. So no one knows really. I mean, what's up? What's your take?
Well, in the first place, I think we can heave a sigh of relief because everybody wanted to avoid the conflagration of this conflict, and not from now, but forever, because both Iran and Israel have these structural, fundamental issues and problems and consider each other as an existential threat. This was in fact, the first time the full-scale 12-day war between the two, aerial war mainly. But in the past 1.5 years, we have seen they have also exchanged missiles towards one another at least 2 times before. There have been clandestine operations against the Iranian nuclear program by the Israelis and by the Iranians through its proxies in Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, creating problems for Israel, as well as undertaking their own clandestine activities within Israel. So, but in this war, we have seen that Iran does have a resilience to stand up despite not possessing a strong air force. It banks mainly on its missile power. And that is why it is also looking possibly to have a nuclear bomb, which, of course, the leadership denies, but very few will buy that. So therefore, when there is a chain of events, as you know, that there was an IA report a few days ago. I mean, I think on the 12th of this month, in which it was mentioned that Iran was perhaps not in compliance of various requirements, was not sharing much of information, which led to believe that there was something concrete going on. And since Iran has been enriching after the suspension of JCPOA, from which President Trump walked out in 2018 himself, there was a fear that Iran could perhaps acquire weapons within a very short time, since it has more than 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, which could be upgraded in a very short time, according to them. And some of the people in Iran have also been threatening with that they have all the, as they say, the pieces of the puzzle, and they could put it together. So Israel, on the other hand, has also been working on it for quite some time. First is decimated Hamas, then Hezbollah, then he was working on Houthis to a great extent, and even in Iraq, and with the advent of change in Syria, with the rule of Assad, Iran's tentacles in the region, which used to give it an asymmetric advantage, were significantly reduced. And therefore, the Israeli leadership, which wanted the US to come back, because the US is the only country that will stand up to Israel, irrespective of regimes, irrespective of administration or the personalities. That is a given. And therefore, it upped the ante. It undertook preemptive strikes. It realized it was not able to do it himself. So therefore, they wanted USA to come. And USA initially was playing the double game, because on the one hand, it was talking about having some kind of a Trump nuclear deal with Iran. 5 meetings were held. He gave some arbitrary limit of 60 days to solve, kept on keeping very, very high conditions that Iran will have zero enrichment facility, and wanted to enforce those conditions on Iran. Now, you are also aware that civilizational countries and those who are preparing forever for a war in their minds, and through that, despite their weaknesses, don't give in so easily. And so Iran retaliated in good measure. Eventually, they breached the Israeli protection system of Iron Dome, THAADs, whatever they had. Likewise, Iranians took very big hits in the bargain. And then finally, as the President Trump he was seeing that Iranians were running around all over, and Israel was beseeching President Trump to intervene, that President Trump decided that he'll give 2 weeks, as you know. But it was not the 2 weeks is the outer limit. 2 week was the outer limit, but whenever it can happen, and as the last time I also mentioned, that 2 weeks does not mean 2 weeks literally. It means any time within 2 weeks. And deception and surprise is the key to anything. But I'm told, and this would of course over time come out, that Iran was given sufficient notice. So they removed all the material, and they all in any case expected that. So by the time the US aircrafts came and bombed the biggest bomb in the world, traveling about 11,000 kilometers in a masterly manner, attacking 3 of the nuclear facilities, everybody expected
and interestingly, it came all the way from USA. It didn't come from.
Yes, that's what, 11,000 kilometers. I mean, fighting a war.
It didn't come from any of the Middle Eastern bases.
Yes, it did not come because they did not want them to be in the line of fire.
Right.
That was one thing. Secondly, this plane has a very special kind of a thing, these B-52 bombers and all. So it was a military masterful stroke, and which actually evidences that the US has that kind of a power, which no other country really has. So they did it, but that was again symbolic, because we have seen that firstly, the Iranians knew about it. Secondly, we knew that there was not so much damage has been done. Some facilities have been done. There is IAEA's report which is saying not much nuclear radiation. That means the Iranian have taken good care of their facilities. Though Natanz, as you know, has been attacked by Iran several times, in the past by Israel several times in the past. US has also done it. So definitely damage has been done, which will be assessed by the IAEA and the Iranians, and eventually all these things will come out. But what happened is that the Iran said that they will retaliate, and they retaliated against Israel, continued to. And then, but they also said that there would be consequences for United States for attacking it. Now there was an off ramp needed for everyone. To please Israel, USA had undertaken that action in a limited manner, in my view. It is exactly the replica of the previous. And then, when 2 days ago, or I think yesterday, there was a news that Israel approached Qatar, asking them to, tell Iranians that they are ready for the ceasefire. When
Okay.
this thing approached Iran, then Iran obviously said not until they had done the retaliation. And it was expected that US targets in the region could be hit, US bases would be the fair targets. But then Iran also is not foolish. They did not want to escalate it beyond a point. So they gave advance notice through Qatar and Oman and to US, because US also has been in direct talks with them after the talks in Europe to start. And so the Iranians basically, in a way, I would say, were allowed to hit some missiles, 19 of them, exactly the same number as the US had dropped the bombs on them. And the fact that they were able to go there. You see, the problem is that Iran also has to make many calculations with great difficulty. It has been able to garner support from the Arab friends. And today, this time, all the Arab countries stood with them. So, for example, if they close Hormuz or they attack any of the bases or any countries in the region, then obviously all the Arabs will get together and you will have a very bigger enemy on the ground with you. And so they wanted to avoid that as well. And they don't want to just rock their relationship for the sake of it. So they were allowed the off ramp to send some missiles which were intercepted by United States forces and the Qataris. And the Qatar just played once again, which is a non-NATO ally, a very important role. And then President Trump declared this ceasefire, which will be 24 hours and 12 hours to this thing. Of course, we have to see how on ground it plays out. Just prior to that 4 a.m. thing coming into effect. But we must also remember that a few days back, Iranian foreign minister had said that if Israel stops the strikes on our facilities, we will stop that, our strikes also. So this has been, both sides have been wanting some kind of an off ramp, which in my view, ironically, has been provided by the US.
Yeah. Iran was playing a very calculated game from the beginning because, of course, they wanted to last long in this game. They were defending, and they were not into the going after any mindless attacks, etc. And in fact, we have seen that the non-state actors, that is the Houthis, Hezbollahs, so they just lied low for the moment. I mean, during this period, we didn't see any attack in the Red Sea. We didn't see any disturbance in the Gulf of Oman or Hormuz Strait, whichever we call it. So that is correct. There are a couple of questions. One is, of course, how sustainable do you believe it is going to be? I mean, whether there is a possibility of any immediate flare-up, or this trouble in the Middle East is behind us for the moment. For now, I mean, which also includes that Israel will stop bombing on Hamas and Gaza and etc. Further destruction, whether that will happen. But before that, I have one question for you. What role did Pakistan play in this maneuvering?
Okay. Now, number one is your question is very valid. How long? Nobody knows. Because this is a problem that has been lasting since 1979. So there is no perceptional or strategic change either in the mindset of Netanyahu or Khamenei. Both, as long as both are in the leadership positions in the country, the rivalry between the two is unlikely to recede. So that's why there is always the potential of a flare up in the future. But Israel is masterly in its, I would say, uh, clandestine operations. And they also give good credit to the Iranians for doing the same. So this is by the Israelis. They give credit. They say, yeah, they're very strong too. So that we cannot discount. It will continue. Uh, Iran will continue. Israel will continue to undermine Iranian nuclear program. But President Trump's efforts would now be to somehow have this nuclear deal going after this ceasefire. If you see his statements, he has praised both the leaders. And he has been against the killing of Khamenei for the simple reason that he wanted somebody to talk to. And so leader, and if you do that, in any case, whatever they have done in the past in Iraq or Libya or elsewhere has only destabilized these countries. There has been no outcome. So I hope they learn from that. The regime change does not guarantee the outcome that you are looking for or wishing for. It does not happen. It has not happened. It will not happen. Because then the people have a different. Suppose tomorrow they were to knock off Khomeini, you could have an IRGC commander in charge. They are, in any case, today they are complete in charge. Khomeini passed on the powers to them for taking whatever military decisions they wanted. He also selected his successors as well. Now, in that sense, they can keep on killing. And we have seen that even though Israel had decapitated the uppermost leadership of IRGC, of the forces, intelligence, and everybody, nuclear scientists. But Iran continued to respond with the same or increased intensity, replacing one of the other. So that means the leadership of different types is easily replaceable. And as far as Iran's response against US is concerned, you are aware that last time when Americans killed General Soleimani in Iraq, Israel sent 22 missiles but did not hit the US bases directly. If they had in advance conveyed the information through Oman and others that we are going to same thing they have done this time. They are not foolish. They don't want to take on the most powerful country to bomb them. They have seen it. So they are smart in that sense. And they have fought that war with Iraq and others. They have a history of it. But as far as Israel is concerned, you see, there are also ideological problems between the two. And so as long as you have these kind of hardliner leaders in both the countries, thinking that they could live together or other things can happen. And of course, overall, the Palestinian issue very often we tend to ignore. It remains and it provides a cause for many countries in the region to stand up to. So until and unless Israel also thinks in a bit more constructive manner how to proceed with the issue of Palestine, I think neither Hamas nor Hezbollah are going anywhere. They will continue to be there because they make that their cause to justify their existence.
So do you expect...
As far as role of Pakistan, you wanted Pakistan.
Yeah.
You see, Pakistan, less said the better. It is a rentier state. It's a state of mercenaries. But they are also, I would say, smart enough to capitalize on their nuisance value, which they do every time.
But
with every superpower.
Meeting of Munir with Trump has evoked a certain kind of curiosity that there has been it had to do something with the Iran-Israel thing. Is it so?
Of course it had. Yes, it had. But at the same time, let us just go a little bit back. Pakistan is still a non-NATO ally. It has not been, removed from that list. Their army and intelligence have deep-rooted ties with the US establishment. You have heard the statements coming from the commander of the CENTCOM, that we have been working on terrorism and this, that. So they have. Secondly, Pakistan also had engaged a very important and lobbying firm in the United States this time. So that access was so much easier for them. A, from the military perspective, B, from the lobbying. And US is run by the lobbies, as you know, whether it's a Jewish lobby, whether it is other lobbies. So that's how the country works. On the other hand, the Iran problem is they thought that working with Pakistan, in Afghanistan, they had used Pakistan successively. They think that Iran and Pakistan have a mixed relationship. It is not a relationship of friends. They have been attacking each other also. But at the same time, they are Islamic country. And Pakistan always has projected this bomb as Islamic bomb. And some noises has coming from Pakistan that if Israel attacks Iran with a nuclear bomb, they will bomb Israel with the nuclear bomb. So this was something that needed to be contained. And Pakistan obviously feels happy when they get invited in the White House. I mean, their prime minister has not been able to meet, but the army general met, which shows clearly that what does US think about the Pakistani establishment. It thinks and it knows that the only person who counts in the country is the general, chief of the army staff, or now he's fully marshal. So that they can talk to them and that they will deliver. But politicians will continue to talk about Islamic this, Islamic that, and all that. That will continue.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
why they
very
made a
funny
very good
situation
statement.
that
Yes,
the
they made a
president of
statement in
USA,
OIC.
president of USA is inviting the army chief, and politicians are blabbering around in their country. I mean, it's
So this is like identity crisis, I would say. But they do smart. I mean, I give them this credit that they somehow or the other they are able to manage with all the superpowers, whether
yeah.
it is USA, whether it is Russia, whether it is China. There is strategic location. There's no doubt as far as Iran, Afghanistan, and all that is concerned. They were also instrumental in bringing US with China. They have been part of the CETO, all kinds of arrangements, have been part of the Cold War. Unwillingly, they went to China's lap because United States started dumping them. But everybody knows that Pakistan is a haven of terrorism, terrorists, yet they are pampered all the time by these powers.
I once asked SD Muni, Ambassador Muni, so that why you every time in the UN you get outsmarted by the Pakistanis. He laughed it away. He said that they always keep thinking in how to do that. So I'm just drawing a simile that they are the best in this power game, just doing
No, it's not
everything.
that. It's that. It's not that. I mean, they have they suck up to anybody. They are ready to be used as a tool. They don't have an independent foreign policy. Their foreign policy is only India centric, against India. That's it. So for that, they will go to an extent. You, as India, have a global outreach and the global issues, global problems, Rosda, Kudumbam, and all that. For Pakistan, it's just India, India centric. Everything is India centric. So
And
therefore, it's much more easier for them to parrot out the same thing over and over again.
right, and as you said about how they are managing all the big powers, and it's ultimately it's not good for a country where its army is actually on rent, available on
Yes.
rent, kind of. So
No,
anyway,
the Saudi attack on Yemen, they were all being recruited at $7,500, as I learned, per sortie that the Pakistani pilots were doing it. There were news that even Turkey, their pilots are working and providing the shield and all that. So they have the armies on rent.
sir, do you expect players like Houthi, uh, which created quite a problem in the Red Sea in the recent past? Do you expect now them to lie low?
Well, last time when there was a war by the Americans and the West against Houthis few months back, they did not back down. And they were supported definitely by Iran. I mean, they are in a way proxy of Iran. So they continued to fight and hit the American ships and everything and made them really difficult. In the end, the Americans got peace with them, with the Houthis. So they are the only intransigent force at the moment whom no one could because of this strategic location. And I always maintain that the Houthis are the real fighters in the region, Yemenis, basically. So here we have a situation is that now that Iran and US will start talking, naturally that can come down. There is a ceasefire which they said is no longer operative if Iran is attacked by USA. So they were about to go forward. They could have closed that Bandarabas and all the protected other areas, and Iran could have done the Hormuz. There could be disastrous consequences for Iran in the process. But the worst case scenario, they could have done that. But now they have been able to manage to exit from this. So each three of them got the exit strategy in this working out because of the I say the preset menu, that how we are going to play out each one. But the
Thank you,
main thing
sir.
is that plate is still empty, sir.
Thanks
Peace
for
is
giving
temporary.
time. And
Thank
I
you.
hope that the Sensex, I haven't checked the market yet. I'm sure Sensex will do well. And President Trump was very particular that the oil prices should remain low. So anyway, insofar as growth is concerned, economy is concerned, at least we are saved for now.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.